Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video where we're going to be, this is part 3 of where we're going to try and recreate this comic book app that we have here. So if you have not watched part 2 of the video, I'm going to put the link up above, but also there's a part 1 as well, and I'll put both part 1 and part 2 links in the description below. So today our main focus on is building out just the UI for this screen here, the detail view, with some dummy data. To save some time, what I have done is created this character detail group. Inside that there's a presentation folder, and there's also a view controller folder as well. And inside the controller folder there's as you can see on the screen, there's a character detail view controller which is empty. It's got no code in it whatsoever. I've also imported these 3 images into the assets folder, and in our scene delegate I have commented out this line 24, which was pointing to our home view controller, and I'm actually pointing it to our detail view controller, just so that every time we build and run, it'll just present us with our detail rather than having to click through and do all that sort of stuff. And we will bind it, we'll do all the click through and add the drop shadow and all that in a separate video and join it all together, piece it all together. But for now, we are just going to focus on the UI aspect, and then in video 4 we'll look at passing the data through to the view controller from our home and pass the data backwards and forwards. So with that in mind, let's get going. Oh, and just one other thing to note is in our extensions folder I've added 2 empty stubs of code of functions and this private pop view, but we'll go into that a little bit more detail in a few minutes. So if I build and run this, we should in theory get a black view controller with a white translucent header bar. So while that's building, I will create a private function. There you go, private function called navBarStyling. And then in here we're going to do navigation controller.apply styling, and our title is called character detail, and we're going to pass our view controller in. Then from our view did load we can do navBarStyling, and we will also set our view's background color equals white, like so. And if we build and run that now, we should get a white view controller with a red navigation bar with the title character detail. There you go, wonderful. So this is where we're going to tweak our navigation controller extension, just so that we can get the little chevron that appears in this version. So we have our character detail title, and we also have the chevron to the left of the label. So to do that, we're going to have to change the function apply styling to allow for an additional parameter called shouldShowButton, which is of type bool. And then in here, give us some space, line 22, 23, we need an if should show button, and then an else. So basically we're just gonna, if that should show button parameter is true, that's when we know that we're going to be in the character detail section. If it's false, then we know we're on the home screen. And we're going to uncomment these function stubs here, and we need to do set up our back button. So we're going to have a let back btn equals UI button, and we want it to be a custom button, so our type is going to be custom. We also need to generate an image view, back btn image view, and it's type UITableView. Whoops. View, like so. And then in here we've got a constructor that says what our image is. So we'll go UIImage dot open brackets, and then we should have constructor with name. That's it. And then inside that we need to say back button, because that is the name of the image asset. So if we go back there, that's all good. Then in this here we should have a I haven't spelled back properly, like that. There we go. Then in here we can set the back button dot set image, and we'll go back button ImageView dot image, and for its control we want that image to appear when the button state is normal. Then we can now return our UI bar button item, and in using the constructor custom view we'll pass in the back button like so. Then that all looks correct. Yep. There is something we are missing from that function, but I just want to go through it in a bit of detail. So basically what will happen is we'll present the button, but it will actually be black. It won't match the same color as the title, the text color, but there's a way of getting around that, and I want to talk about that separately. So for now we'll just have a black back button and a white title. Now this here fixed spacer function is going to be the space between the button and the edge of the label. So we need to do let spacer equals UI bar button item, and then we should have one called, that's the one, and then it's dot fixed space. This is going to be nil, and our selector is going to be nil. Then our spacer is going to be dot width. Should have a dot width. Yep. And then we're going to pass in our space. Basically we can then apply any fixed space between the button and the title. That will get passed into the function. Then we just return spacer like so. This mark responder private pop view is actually the target for our button, so we could actually add that, but we'll comment it out for now, because if we try and hit back it's just going to crash the app, because we can't go back, because we've set our root view controller to be the character detail just for this video, so that we can just build the UI up. At selector, I also need to do at objc. This is going to be pop view, and then we need this to be touch up inside there, that one there. So in our on line 24, in our if statement where it says should show the button, we should do controller dot navigation item dot left bar button items. So this is an array because it's plural items. So our items are going to be, first we need the back button. So we'll call our back button styling function, which returns us a UI bar button item. Then we need our fixed space fixed spacer function, and we're going to pass in a value of 10. So it's going to be 10 pixels between the button and the edge of the label. And then finally, we need to provide our title. Now, in our home view controller, because we've added that additional parameter on the apply styling, we should add it here. And in our home view controller, we need to set this parameter to false. But then in the character detail, we need to should show button, set that to true. Then if we now build and run, we should see a red title with a black button and white text with a little bit of space in between. Oh, what's that moaning about? Oh, that was silly. Need to make it a UI bar button item with a custom view. Custom view title. Like so. And if we build and run, that should run fine. Cool, there you go. So to fix this button, back button, we need to do back button dot tint color equals dot white, and then in here there should be a with rendering mode, and then on that you do always dot template, and I think that's all. And if we run this code now, we should in theory get a white back button and white text like that. Cool. Okay, that's excellent. So now we can jump into our presentation view. We're going to do Command N, new Swift file, next, and we're going to say character detail presentation, like so. Create that, do class, whoops, then in here we're going to have a function called display layout, like so. Then up here we need to do a var table view. It's of type UITableView. Oh, mustn't forget to import. What am I doing? Don't need that either. UI kit, very important, because it won't find the UITableView from Foundation. So UITableView, then let table return table, and we need to set Tamic on this as well, like we did in our first video. Dot translate to auto resizing constraints, set that to false, and then if we do table dot background color equals dot green, do a different color this time. We did yellow and red, so we'll do green. So that is pretty much all we need for our table view just to begin with. So we need to add the data source and delegates and all that sort of stuff for now, but for now we can just set this up as a green table view. So in here we need to do something else we need is our weak var controller and we need it to be of type character. That one there, that's optional. So guard let controller equals controller else return. Like I've said before, you can probably handle that better, alert views or whatever, but for now we're just going to unwrap it using that method. And then we need to add our table view to the subview, so it's at controller.view.add subview, and we set the table view. Now we can do our constraints, so it's going to take all the edges. Table view dot leading anchor dot constraint is equal to controller dot view dot leading, and we need to activate this true, and then our good old friend copy and paste like that, and then just change this to trailing, that one there, this one to top, and this one to bottom, like so. I think that's all we need to do in there. Then we just need to initialize our presentation layer here by doing var presentation equals character detail presentation. Do that, and then we'll create a private func setup. Then in here we can do our presentation dot controller and set our presentations controller to our view controller self, so we get access to all the good stuff that's in here when we need it. So if we build and run that, everything looks good. We should get red navigation bar with our back button and a green background. What have I not done? Oh, I'm not calling the display layout function. That's very important. Presentation dot display layout. Now we should get the green background. Now we can start looking at building our delegates and that sort of stuff. Oh, and I also need to call setup. Call setup from there. So that then calls this function, which does all the good stuff. I made the same mistake in a previous video, not calling that. There you go. We have a table view. Very hard to see the separators, but they are there. Table view with green background. Splendid. So we can create a new group, call it table view data source, like so. Then in there we need to create a new Swift file, call it character detail, so detail data source, boom. So that is cool. Now we need to do UIKit, import UIKit, copy and paste our class name. We need to inherit from NS object the same as we do for our so that we can access our data source and delegate methods. same as how you handle the collection view in video 1. Then we also need to access UITableView data source. Then, as before, there's some methods that we need to adhere to out of the box. So, number of sections, we're going to actually return 3 here, because we need access to those headers in section headers. And then we're going to do number of rows in section, and this one we're only going to return 1 because we want 1 row per section. And then down here we are just going to do cell for row index path, and just return a UITableView just for now. We're going to change all this shortly. We're going to also create a new group, and we're going to call that views, and these are where the cells are going to sit for our table view. So it's going to be a new file, new Cocoa Touch class, and then a UITable subclass of UITableViewCell, and this is going to be our hero name TableView cell, hero profile TableView cell, call it that, and that's going to be the top, the first row. So we can get rid of that, don't need that, and we don't need that either. So here we're going to override the initializer. So if we just type in init, that one there, and then call super on that, just so that we can super.init style and reusable identifier. Cool. Then we're going to have a private func display layout. You could put these in a protocol. All the display layouts you could put in a protocol, so that each view you need to use that method. You just have to conform to that protocol. But we maybe look at protocols in another video. But for now, we'll just do it this way. Oh yeah, we need to required init with coder. We're not using storyboard, so that doesn't really matter. But we have to have it anyway. Now, the two things that we need to grab in from here are, if we look at this, we have an image view and we have a title. So let's drop that out of the way. So we'll do var name, here, call it hero name, is of type UI label, and then in here we're going to do let label equals UI label, change that to name, and then we'll return name. So there's a few things that we need to add in here. So it's name dot number of lines equals 0. So this is just so that it will wrap, because we are going to make the cell dynamic in height. Name dot font equals UI font, that one there, and then we've got a constants file which is here, and we'll call it font style, and we can set let me look at my notes to see what size font we I'm going to use, because I was trialing these out the other day, and let's see what size we need. We'll go with 40. I think I've already preset that in the constants file. If we go back to constants, yes, so if we use that one there, go in there like so, and we are going to do name dot text color, because we're not really supporting dark mode in iOS 13 for this. We're just going to do dot black, and that's that. So next we need to add a image view, a container view, because we want to be able to add drop shadow. So we're going to have a container view, and our image viewer sit on top of that, and we'll add a clip. We'll add clip into the container view. So if we do var container what's equal is of type UIView equals container, then this is going to be let view equals UIView view dot background color dot equals dot clear, and view dot clip to bounds equals true, so that we get that nice circular shape. And view dot layer dot corner radius equals 120 divided by 2. That should give us that nice circular shape, and then return view. That should do that for now. So with that, we can probably just cheat a little bit. No, actually we'll do var profile image is of type UITableView and then return image. Oops. Okay, so basically what we are doing here is we are just creating a default profile image with a background color of yellow. Then make sure we call that display layout. We do. Then we're just going to add all of this stuff that we've built up here. We just add it to the content view. So let's focus on that. So our image view is going to be something like, we can add the content view dot add subview. That is going to be hero name, and then content view, content view dot add subview. So the content view is just the content that you, so you'll have the cell, and then inside the cell there's a separate view. So the content view is where you'd add all the subviews. Yeah. So yeah, if you imagine the cell is the root, and then layered on top of that is the content view, and then you'd put all your subviews on top of that. So your labels and buttons and switches and all that sort of stuff that'll live on top. So this needs to be our container view. So our container, and that's that. And then we need to do build out add our container view now. So if we do our container view have a background color of blue like that, then when we build and run it, at least you'll see that there's a blue circle on the screen rather than it being white. So we'll probably get to a point where we'll just have three of the same TableView cells, and that's probably a good point to stop. But yeah, we'll see how we go. So let's look at container. So if we do container, so do container dot leading anchor dot constraint. If you've watched video 1, you've seen me do this already. So that's going to be content view dot leading anchor dot is active equals true. And what we're going to do is move the circular image over slightly, so we'll have a constant of 10. And we'll do the same for the top, but we won't have a leading or a trailing. We will just have a width and a height. So that's going to be top anchor top, and then if we do container dot width dot 120 dot is active equals true, height. So width and height anchors just basically are what they are, width and height. So we are producing a square, but because it's clipped, it'll give us, and we've set this view.layer.corner radius to be the same as the width and height, but we halve it, so we get that nice circular image or view. That's what we're doing there. So if we move to back to the data source now, the presentation layer, sorry, and we need to register our cell with a table view. So exactly the same as what you have to do with the collection view. So TableView.register cell, and this is going to be hero profile TableViewCell.self, and give it an identifier of header cell. Whoops. Put that in there, like so. Then in our data source, we can get rid of that, and we can do let cell equals table view.dequeue that one, paste in the string and index path, and do cell, return cell. So if we now build and run this, we should get three green circular images. Let's see. I don't think I forgot. Oh, I haven't found my data source. Done that again. So in here we need to construct a data source. Is hero, no, character, detail, data source, like so, and then we just need to bind that to our TableView data source. TableView.dataSource equals data source, like that. You'd have thought I've done that enough times I wouldn't forget, but yeah. Okay, so this is complaining because we haven't set a height, so we can do that here. We will move this, but this is going to be a delegate. So in here, but normally I put the delegates in a separate file, the same as I do with the data source, but just for speed we are going to do put the height for row, at index path, and now you can use this thing called return UITableView auto dimensions, and it will actually, if you set the constraints up correctly, which we haven't in this case, but if we do ContainerView bottom anchor constraint is equal to the container bottom isActive equals true, that should stop that from happening. And also we need to set the color of the content view background color, oh come on, background color equals .clear. And the reason why we don't see anything is because I forgot to set Tamic on each of these views. So yeah, if you don't set Tamic, that's what kind of happens. You get these horrific warnings in the console and nothing really appears. Or if you forget to set Tamic on one view and all the other ones are perfectly set, then it'll make all your view go all wafty. So hopefully that'll get rid of all the horrible errors in the console and show us some views. Like that. Cool. We've still got some weird errors, but we see our circular images. And it's probably worth us setting the self.background color equal to clear as well, and set a constant of 10. There you go. So we've got 3 circles and yeah, we've still got those warnings, but we've still got some UI elements to add, but they'll go once we add the label and the profile image as well. So now we can maybe look at from our I'm just going to rename this because I'm going to cheat a little bit. Call this name of hero, and I've got some code set up in my notes just to save us a little bit of time. So if I copy that and paste that into there, and I can walk through what's happening just to save us some time. Change that to that. Hopefully this will save us some time. I need to just change those to container. And that is that, but we'll set some text in the name of hero. So we'll say name dot text equals, and need a hero. So while that's compiling and trying to run, I'll run through what I am doing here. So we've got var height. We are trying to get calculate the height of the we're going to calculate the height of the text, so that we can give a true calculation of our label height. Then we are setting the leading and the trailing to the either end of the cell, and we want to center our label to the center of the container view. So just going over that again, line 59, we're collecting the height of the label, and if we can't get the height because it's optional, we'll just set it as a default of 60. Then we'll do height divided by 2, so that will give us the that will give us half the height of the cell, because we already know that using constraints, we already know where the bottom of the label is. We just need to add some additional padding, which is on line 64. So line 61, we're saying, right, okay, we want to pin this the left edge of our label to the right hand side of our blue circle, but we want to add a little bit of padding, so that's where this 10 comes into it. Then on line 62, we are saying we want our trailing anchor to be the right hand side of the content view, but we want to come in 10 pixels, so that's why we have -10. And then line 63, we are saying we want the center of our label to be the center of the circle, so it's like perfectly aligned. Excuse me. And then line 64 is saying, right, the bottom, the bottom of the cell, the content view of the cell, we want that to be match the bottom of the label, but we also want to add half the height to that. So that's why we're getting the height parameter on line 59. So we have on line 64, if you look, we have this constant bit, this constant parameter, and we're saying we want the height plus 20. The 20 is for some padding, that's all. So hopefully I explained that well enough for people to understand. I've actually put 10 here, but it should be 20. So yeah, that I've copy and pasted that from the GitHub page where this project sits. Again, I'll put the link to that in the description below, but yeah, so I've stolen it from there just to save us a bit of time. And that, as you can see now, all the console, all the errors have now gone. So yeah, that's pretty cool. So one last thing I want to do is, if I do view, should be, I think it's in the delegate table view, view for header in section, this one here. So we want to do if section is equal to 1, so this is our character bio, else if section is equal to 2, and this is where our comic books will get held. So basically this view for header in section is each section of, so we're returning 3 sections. Each section will have a header. So if we go back to our, if we stop that from running and we go back to our proper comic app, this, where it says character bio, is a section header, and where it says comics is another section header. And if either of those fails, i.e. we're in section 0, we just want to return a empty UI view. And this bit here is where we'll add those headers. So for now we will just put a let view what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this lot into a function called setup header, and we are going to pass in the title. So it's going to be title for header, and this is type string. Then in here we can do let header view equals UI view, and we're going to use the frame constructor in this one, but we're also going to pass in the table view as well. Table view UI table view, like that, and then this is going to be CG rect, and in this constructor we can pass in some float values. So this is going to be 0 and 0, so this is the X and the Y, and we want this to be table view dot frame dot size dot width. So we want it to take up the whole width of the screen, and then the height will probably be about 80. Yeah, we'll go with 80. Yeah, we'll go with 80 and see how that looks. It probably might be a little bit fatter than the ones represented in the simulator. So now we can do header view dot background color equals dot red. So this will be the same red as a nav bar. Do that, and then for now we'll return header view. Then all we need to do in each one of these is call our setup. Just build it. Oh, we need to return the view. Return the UI view there. Then in here we need to do setup header, and this one is going to be called character bio, and we pass in the table view. Obviously the label won't show for now because we need to do that, but then we do setup header, and this is going to be comics, and pass in the table view again. And the reason we get those warnings is because we need to return that, because that's what view for header in section wants, is a view. Return. So now if we build and run that, we should get 2 section headers with no text, green background, and a circular image, and I need a hero title. Oh, and we need to table view dot delegate equals self, and that will handle our view for header in section. There you go. Another method we need to override is, we'll make this private. Another method we need to override is height for header in section, and we need to say if our section is equal to 0 or section is equal to 1, we need to match return 80, else or just do return 0, so that our top header section is, there's no height to it, but the other two that we want to add our character bio and comics titles to, there is a height of 80, so that will match the height that we've given it down on line 56. So there's 1. Oh, sorry, that's my fault. That should be 1 and 2. Sections 1 and 2, yeah, that will do the trick. There you go, we've got 2 section headers, and this is where the, actually that is a bit large, isn't it? Let's change that to 60. Really, we should put a constant in here and say let section header height is CG float equals 60. Copy, back, paste that in there, and paste that in there. We'll be good citizens and just render and just, yes, put that value in there. There you go, cool. One final thing to do is just do the label now. So we'll do let label equals UI label. This we need to add, no, that's a bad name, call it title. Title dot font equals UI font. That one, and it's going to be, if we go back to our constants folder, font style, and in our constants file we're going to have another let section header font size equals 30, make that of type CG float, like that, and then our title dot text is going to be title for header. Is it going to be equal to title for header? And we also need to do tamic equals false, like so. Whoops. Then we can apply our constraints, but we need to add it to the subview first, or our header view. So header view dot add subview is going to be title. Now we can do title dot leading anchor equal dot constraint equals header view dot leading and we need to do a constant of 10, so we just got a little bit of space between the edge of the screen and the equals true and the actual beginning of the label. Then we just need to copy and paste. Trailing do -10, And to position this, we'll just do title.center yanchor.constraint. And in the header, view.center is active equals true. Like that. I think that should give us our our titles for our sections, and that's probably a good point to finish now. There you go. Oh, one other thing we need to do is we need to set the title to the text color to .white, and again we would add all the drop shadows and all that sort of stuff in a later video. We'll probably just do it as a finalized video, but just to tidy up, I'm going to remove that hideous green background of the table view. So that's going to be in this section here. If we get rid of that and build and run, and that is that. There you go. Cool. So it's, as you can see, it's looking a lot similar to our finished article. We just, obviously the character bio is just going to be a UI label with number of lines set to 0, so we can get the word wrapping. And probably the next most complex thing to do in this UI is add the scrolling collection view. So that's we'll focus on that in the next video. But yeah, again, hopefully the stuff we've worked on today, I've covered some interesting topics that people find of value to them. Like I said in the previous video, as long as people are learning and they find this stuff interesting, then I'm happy. But yeah, if nothing's been made clear, please let me know in the comments. Some people have been asking me questions, which is really cool. I like that. I like helping and answering the questions. It's good. Yeah, if something's not clear or I haven't explained something well enough, then please do let me know, and maybe we can do like an overview video at the end, or I can do an overview video where I go over certain areas that I could make a little bit clearer. But yeah, if you've liked the video, please give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Like I said before, open to structured criticism. And if it's added value, please give us a subscribe. It'd be really helpful. And if there's anything in particular you'd like to see, like someone's asked me to do a e-commerce app, we may look at doing something like that. I want to do something around texture, which is a good alternative to Swift UI. If you need to support older devices, which I've mentioned in the previous video, we'll do something around texture. That's going to be, I'm really looking forward to that one. I've got a good plan for that. We're going to use Breaking Bad APIs, so that's going to be good fun. But yeah, if you're enjoying the channel, please leave a comment or like and subscribe. I really appreciate it. Anyway, I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.